All right. Is this thing working? Okay, cool. All right. Looks like I finally got this working. Oh, all right. So I decided I was going to do a live stream today. This might be a little rough. I haven't tried this before, so I'm just kind of getting used to things. I'm going to play around with some buttons and stuff. So if I lose you for a second, it doesn't happen. Hopefully people can hear me okay if anyone ever actually joins. So I decided the live stream, kind of last second decision, so I don't really have much prepared, but I figured I'm going to talk about fitness because a lot of my videos have been of aquarium stuff. I'm hoping to try and change that, or at least add some more videos in that does talk a little bit about fitness, because I have a little bit to say, I guess. So we'll start with, I guess, nutrition, because I think in the grand scheme of things, that's probably the most important thing, and in most people overlook it. A lot of people who are not as well informed would just go to the gym and eat whatever they want, whereas I think the problem nowadays is nutrition. People don't really know what they're eating. So what I do is I'll be perfectly honest, I'm not that good of like the healthiest eater. Dinners are usually pretty good, but dessert is usually not very healthy, if I'm perfectly honest. Sometimes I get oatmeal, but most of the time it's really just junk food. Anyway, you might have noticed that I said dinner and dessert. Breakfast and lunch don't happen. And I think that's, for me, one of the big ways to keep my body healthy and a leaner body overall. So some of you may or may not know of the Blake diet. It's, I guess, new, popular. Anyway, it's basically the warrior diet, and that is what myself and my girlfriend do, which entails basically fasting all day. Usually it's recommended for 20 hours of fasting with 4-hour eating window. We're usually a little bit less than that. Sometimes we're a bit more. It really depends on the day. And that's kind of what I believe the diet should be, in that the concept is to fast all day like our forefathers isn't a really accurate term, but earlier man, if you will, they would go and gather all day. Before we were farmers and everything, we were gatherers. We traveled around, collected berries, hunted, things like that. And I am a believer that in a short period of time, we have not changed enough genetically that we are different from what we were meant to be or what we were previously. So I find that the warrior diet is more accurate to what modern day man should be doing. While that seems insane for a lot of people and it could be a bit challenging, it's not. I think with the right mental strength, it's not that hard. And a lot of distractions. That's part of the reason I'm doing this right now. Anyway, so yeah, we were hunter-gatherers. We foraged, and then in the evening, when the sun started to go down and there were started to be more dangerous animals, you would come back together, eat a big meal, and go to bed. So that's basically what we do. Some days it will start at 4 o'clock. Some days it will start at 6 or 7 o'clock. If we go to the gym, a lot of times we'll just come back. I don't consider pre or post workout a fast breaker, because your body is burning so many calories while you are in the gym. And we'll get to how that works in a little bit. I believe that small window of time is exactly what is meant for modern day man. Some days were longer, some days were shorter. So it's not going to be exactly the same every day, and I think that's normal. And it seems to be for me. Some days, yes, my stomach will growl or something like that, but maybe if I have some coffee or tea, I will be okay for a few more hours. And especially when I'm in the gym, I'm not usually hungry, so it's an easy distraction that way too. Oh. So yeah, we'll fast about for 20, 22 hours, sometimes more. We've done 24-hour fast just because. And I think that's been very helpful. You know, that very small eating window makes it very hard to eat all of the calories you're supposed to in a day. And some of those more calorie dense kind of junk foods are actually in some senses okay because you have so many calories you want to gain. Now, it probably doesn't mean as I could be more aesthetically pleasing, because if I ate a bit healthier, it would probably shed some excess weight and bloat and things like that off. But I'm not really concerned about that right now. I'm very comfortable where I'm at. And as long as I'm getting to the gym regularly and not just like gorging myself, then I don't have too much of an issue with it. Of course, if it starts to get out of hand or metabolism goes down the crapper for whatever reason, then obviously I will change. But I think the warrior diet, intermittent fasting, whatever you want to call it, does help a lot to kind of curtail that fact. So onwards, I guess we'll go to the gym, and then I'll circle back, see if I can think of anything else to talk about, if anyone has any comments or anything. So gym, usually right now it's about 3 to 4 times a week. And it's mostly pairing muscle groups. So what I mean by that is like quads, hamstrings, calves one day. Usually one day will be triceps, shoulders, abs. One day will be, like hopefully today, should be back, biceps, and abs. And then if I can squeeze a 4th day in, it's usually I'll pick like the lagging muscle groups, the ones that I think could use an extra day just to add some more strength. Or if one muscle group is feeling particularly good and well rested, then I could use that muscle group again. I'll try for abs 2 to 3 times a week. I think that's one muscle group you can push a little bit more. Again, there's no science here. It's just lots of years of doing this. And you may notice I don't say chest or anything like that. Chest and traps are 2 things that have caused shoulder problems for me because of my bad shoulders, and I choose not to do those for this overall good of my body. So workouts are usually, I like to think, about an hour long. Most of them are going to be supersets. I'm really big on supersets. It makes the workout quicker. You get a lot more accomplished. And in many cases, you are working extra hard and burning more calories in that process. And with paired muscle groups, some exercises can be kind of doing double duty, if you will. An example would be like a bent over row. That one works both biceps and your back muscles. So then if you go and also do another bicep exercises, you're working extra hard. So supersets I'm a big fan of. I usually do about 4 sets on everything. That's just personal preference. I don't think it's too much or too little. And I usually will usually go for 6 to 8 reps, depending on the time of year. Now it might be closer to 4 to 6 if I'm feeling healthy and no joint issues or anything. Now, I'm a firm believer in lifting heavy. I think within not like 1 rep heavy exercises. I'm not like the power lifter. Yes, that's an option, but that would be definitely a different rabbit hole that I haven't really gone down, don't ever plan to. And I am planning, and normally, lost my train of thought, sorry. This is going to take some getting used to with comments on the side and trying to stay focused on track. Well, that's going to be tough. Okay, so backing up, just so I can remember we did bent over rows as a back and chest or a back and bicep exercise. Doubling that with another exercise could be like doubling that bicep workout. Lifting heavy, sorry. So I'm a firm believer in lifting heavy, like I said, 4 to 6 to 6 to 8 reps, depending on what your goal is. Most of the time, I am trying to keep it lean but build muscle slowly, so that will normally be that 6 to 8 rep range. 4 to 6 would be more for kind of a bulking season, which is what I'd be looking at right now. Now, I believe that you don't need to do 20 plus lifts and just to work a muscle. I see it all the time where people do 15, 20 reps, and yes, it works, but I don't think you're going to accomplish exactly what you want. I think for a lot of people, the misconception is you want to tone yourself or something. And I believe that doing a high number of reps will, yes, work your muscles, but in a lot of cases, lifting heavy will do a better job of that. I just think that the heavier lifts are going to exhaust your muscles more. You're going to burn more calories in that process. And for females who are afraid of, lifting heavy is going to get you too bulky, it doesn't quite work like that, because estrogen and testosterone, 2 different things, and they are in different amounts between males and females for a reason, to keep it short. So I think lifting heavy, even for females, is a good idea. Now, I also don't do cardio. And to some people that may seem insane, but I heard of plenty bodybuilders who do not do cardio most of the year, and only when they are trying to get right before the stage, those last couple of weeks, maybe the last 2 months, that's when the cardio sets in to get that last few percent off. So I don't believe it's perfectly necessary. I don't do it a lot. I'm not planning on stepping on the stage anytime soon, probably ever. And I believe that it just, in the long run, it doesn't work out well, or it doesn't accomplish the goal I think people think it does. And to elaborate on that, because that's kind of confusing, without having any graphs or anything available, I'll do my best with my hands because I came unprepared. I'll do better next time. So essentially, cardio, if this is how many calories are burned, this is your amount of time. Cardio will burn more calories while you're working out, but after the workout's done, it's much lower. However, weightlifting is much more like, I believe it's exponentials. It kind of slowly builds while the workout happens, but after the workout, it's burning a lot of calories because your body is trying to repair those torn muscle fibers. So it needs those calories to help build those muscle fibers back together. And therefore, I think what most people don't realize is, yes, while sitting on a cardio machine, you can burn hundreds of calories in an hour, whereas in working out, again, it depends a lot on how hard you're working out, because that's easy to change. Will burn less calories, but the 12 hours afterwards or 24 hours afterwards is going to burn a lot more calories because of that weight lift than the cardio ever did. So that's why I'm not particularly a big fan on cardio. To each his own. Some people really enjoy it and have no problem doing it for 1-2 hours, getting really intense and just like that runner's high type of thing. I never found that to be true, but to each his own. Now, for exercises, a lot of my stuff has to be kind of safe, if you will, because of my bad shoulder. So there are some exercises that I would probably recommend to people that I can't do. I know that sounds counterintuitive, or doesn't seem right that I would recommend some exercises that probably would seem unsafe on shoulders. But I do think with healthy shoulders, these are very powerful exercises, and done carefully, you can easily build those muscles and without injury. So, of course, I do highly recommend for almost anyone, and I do it all the time, is I recommend complex exercises, or complex muscle contractions. So that would be like your squats, your deadlifts, your pull-ups, your bent over rows, any exercise that really uses multiple muscle groups is going to be your best bang for your buck if you're short on time and trying to get the most out of your workout. Really, in any situation, I'd recommend doing those first. Of course, you will see plenty of other people on the internet, on Instagram, other things like that, other social media sources that will do plenty of other exercises that, of course, they do work, but you also have to think about where they're at and where you're at, and if what their goal is right now matches yours, if that makes sense. You don't want a guy who's getting about to step on the stage and mimic his workout if you're trying to bulk up. It doesn't go hand in hand. So complex exercises are going to be the cornerstone, and then from there, I try and break it into the different muscle groups within each muscle itself. So what I mean by that is, like a tricep, it has 3 different heads, and you want to do some form of exercise that will kind of work each one. And some of them, of course, are going to overlap. And then there are certain, like for the tricep, the long head is, in my opinion, the most important one to focus on. And then that will also lead to other parts of the tricep. So I try and focus on making sure I get all 3 of those. Of course, those complex exercises do a great job of doing multiple parts, especially for like back exercises. But in the case of the tricep, I also would try and do different grips. So there's plenty of ways to do like an overhand grip on a pull down. There's reverse grip. You can do a hammer grip. This is some great ones with like skull crushers are an excellent way to get a different grip. But that grip rotation, I believe, allows you to focus on different parts of the tricep itself. And in some cases, focus more on the contraction versus focusing more on the push, or focusing more on the weight, if you will. So I think it depends on what your goals are. If you are trying to work on focusing your mind-muscle connection, I try and find that the reverse grip is the best way to do it. You can really get a good squeeze that way. But if you're normally trying to do heavier weight, then you're going to be better overhand or straight arm with like a rope pull down. And of course, the biggest one for like a tricep exercise would be dips, which I don't do very often, but that's because I have horrible shoulders and the place I work out at is not have a good dip machine. But I'm hoping to change that shortly, maybe this month or next month. Long story, but the gym I'm working out at, I won't name names, is just not cutting it for what my goals and I guess my needs are. So back to the old gym it will be, which I'm pretty excited about. Anyway, moving on, we'll talk about shoulders. We'll talk about abs, and then I'll finish out probably with back, chest. We'll see how far we get. I'm on 20 minutes so far, and I've been rambling for a while. But at some point, I'm going to have to go back to adulting. So, shoulders, 3 different parts of it. Again, you have the anterior, medial, and posterior, the front, middle, and back. And the easiest, the exercises are pretty much all the same, except for the back one, I guess. So what I would normally recommend is like a front raise. If you can do a military press, I do recommend that if you can do it safely. It is a very strong shoulder exercise, but I'm just not able to do it anymore, so be very careful when doing it. With that said, I do think it is an excellent front shoulder workout. Side shoulders, you can do like the raises, but that is very hard on your shoulders. What I do is like a lateral raise. If you have those side swing machines, those I actually like a lot, and I think they're a good machine, especially if you are trying to be very careful of your shoulders. So that's probably what I would recommend without getting into too complex of exercises. And then for your rear shoulders, your posterior, I'm forgetting the scientific term for shoulder. Anyway, the back of your shoulder, I'd call it like a reverse pec fly, but it basically is like, usually you'll see them on a pec fly machine where you can bring it back out. You can do it with cables too. That works very well. I've been doing that for a long time because I find that more comfortable and more safe. And again, the gym that I have, the machines suck. So that would be my recommendations. The back of your shoulder, you also will get a lot of strength with doing back exercises too. So that's kind of double dipping there. But I like to focus on it on a shoulder day as well, especially for me with bad shoulders. The more exercise and work I can get on them, hopefully it will help build more strength and keep them in place forever in a perfect world. Anyway, that's shoulders. Back exercises, again, bent over rows are going to be your best friend, either with a barbell, a dumbbell. Like one arm bent over rows are great. I love Smith machine bent over rows, barbell bent over rows, Yates rows, if you guys know what those are awesome. So that's a great complex exercise. Pull-ups is another great complex exercise. You can do many different hands, and that allows for focusing on different parts of the back without breaking down all the different parts because there's a lot of them. And I would say like a lat pull down is a very good option. I do that either close grip or wide grip. The wide grip is going to work the outer part of your back, whereas the close grip will work more the inner part of your back. Same with a seated row. Seated rows are good. I kind of mix those three in and out. I am a big fan of straight arm pull downs. I think they work that outer part of your back very well, but keeps your shoulders pretty safe. The wide grip for me, it just causes a little discomfort if I get too heavy. But the straight arm pull downs, I can add a lot of weight on, which is always good, especially for this time of year. So that would be something that those kind of exercises are the cornerstone for my back exercise, or like a back day. Biceps, usually incline dumbbells are the biggest one. I recall Jim Stoppani, he said that the incline dumbbell works that bicep peak. So when you really try and squeeze, you get that more like golf ball, softball type effect, depending on how big your bicep is, but you get the idea. So I think that is very helpful in building that bicep peak. There are a few other exercises, but they're kind of weird, and I don't recommend people doing them if they're really a novice and haven't tried a lot. So biceps. Otherwise, I would say hammer curls are great. Of course, barbell curls are excellent. You can do standing. You can do like a preacher curl where you have that like little cheese wedge thing on your arm so you can curl it up towards the bridge of your nose. That's a really good one. Like I do a lot of cable ones just because, again, the gym I work out at doesn't have weights high enough, so I have to use cables to kind of supplement for higher weight, but that does work as well. I am a bigger fan of dumbbells and barbells because I think it pushes you harder and you feel it more. You can get a better squeeze with them too. But the cables work out just fine. So that would be my biggest recommendations for the biceps. On the easiest part, a lot of like back exercises are going to do double dipping on the biceps as well, so you will get a lot of work on them. That's why I pair back and biceps together, but you could also do biceps, triceps, and then back and like shoulders or chest, and that way you're doing biceps 2 separate days in a week, which I'll probably talk about routine workout in a later video since I'm getting close to 30 minutes. So we'll talk about quads, hamstrings, and calves. Easiest ones, deadlifts. Romanian are great for your hamstrings. Deadlifts are great for heavier weight and to work those glute muscles in your lower back really well. Definitely practice form first, practice until you're really, really good, and then you move on to adding weight. Form is everything. Otherwise, you can really hurt yourself. I do not recommend Smith machine squats. I find them horrible. Unfortunately, I do them at my gym, but I'm hoping that will change here soon because I find them very uncomfortable on my hips. But deadlifts I actually do like on the Smith machine just because sometimes my grip is probably the weakest part of my deadlift, and that way if it falls, it's just falling down a little bit and not like slamming against the ground. That's my personal preference. If you like barbell more and your grip is much better than mine, then by all means definitely do barbell because I do like a barbell deadlift. But those are going to be your cornerstones. From there, there's lots of options. Lunges are great. I like Smith machine lunges just because I don't really even have to sometimes put my hands there, or just one hand to kind of guide it, which is really good on my shoulders because sometimes it will bother me holding it like that for a long time. But lunges are really good, complex exercise to work the quads, to work your butt, work your hamstring. It just is a great exercise. So normally I'll do like a squat paired with a standing calf raise. That way I'm using the same weight. It can be pretty quick. And I find that's a pretty good workout. Of course, I wish it wasn't on a Smith machine, but what can you do? Anyway, move on. Probably going to do like a Romanian deadlift and do either lunges possibly, or doing like a hip thruster, sometimes seated calf raises, something like that. Depending on what your focus is. So if my focus is more on calves, I might do a seated calf raise. If I want to work my hamstrings a bit more, I might be doing hip thrusters, or I guess that's more glutes anyway, sorry. Or if I'm really trying to push myself, lunges and Romanian deadlifts are a killer. You're going to sweat your butt off, and that is actually a good thing. So isn't that what we're all trying for? Anyway, those are really good options to do. And then normally I'll talk about in another live stream, probably about routine. We'll go another layer in. And at some point I will talk about blood flow restriction. I definitely don't recommend that for novices, but if it's something you're interested in, leave me a comment down below and I can try and explain a little bit more, because I don't know when the next live stream will be. Anyway, so that would pretty much summarize a leg day. Maybe a leg press, add a lot of weight, so you can do a really heavy leg press. That way you can do higher weight, just pushing out a lot more. You can do leg extensions and seated leg curls. I do like seated leg curls. I'm not the biggest fan of leg extensions. I think it can be a herder on the knees if you're not doing it properly. So I don't actually recommend it to most people, because you can hurt your knees real easily with that. So that's legs. We've done biceps, triceps, shoulders, back. We'll finish off with chest and abs. Chest, one thing I don't do anymore, but I have years of practice doing it previously. And I would still be doing it if it still didn't bother my shoulders, because actually my chest is was one of the strongest parts of my body before all of the accidents. Anyway, barbell bench press, easily the best one for working your chest, because you can add so much weight. Now, the chest itself does have different parts, and the barbell works kind of the broader area of all of them without getting too specific, kind of more of a focus on the medial area, if we're thinking top, middle, bottom in that sense. Most people don't bench properly though. So next video we will break that down a bit more, because I have one very important thing to say, that if you can learn one thing from all of my fitness videos, it will be how to bench properly so you don't destroy your shoulders and ruin your life. Just kidding, but kind of. So that's a good chest exercises. Cable flies, I highly recommend. I think they're great. If you can do dumbbell flies, just be very careful, very slow. Go very slowly going up the weight, because it is very easy to hurt yourself. Don't use machine dumbbell flies. It's very painful. I wouldn't recommend it. You can easily get hurt, and I've dislocated my shoulder on one, so definitely don't recommend machine ones. Anyway, reverse grip bench press. Basically, if you're benching like this, turn it like this and bench down. Again, I'll go in more detail on how to do that when I talk about proper benching format in another live stream. But I would say that will work more of your upper chest. And then a decline bench press is always a good one to do for your lower chest. That one generally gets neglected. Or you can do, this one I always remember, I always forget. I believe it is high to low pulley works your lower chest. I may have to double check on that. I could be low to high. It's been a while. But those would probably be the cornerstone of a chest workout for me. Or maybe throw some dips in there if you really want to do some chest triceps. Hit those complex exercises. Dips are a great one to work triceps and your chest muscles. And then we have abs. And abs is pretty simple. I consider like an upper, middle, lower ab area, and then of course the obliques. I will try and do an exercise that will focus on upper abs, lower abs, with that medial area pretty much getting hit by both, and then obliques that will also kind of do. They're all a lot overlapping. So there's two routes that I go. If I'm really killing it in the gym and working out a lot, then P90X, the Ab Ripper X, you can buy it. You can probably find it online pretty easily too. And at this point, I've memorized it, so I'm not too concerned about that. But it's not hard to find one way or another, whatever you choose to do. But it is an excellent ab workout. Abs are kind of one of those things, if you do lots of reps or if you do high weight, the outcome is pretty similar as far as I've seen. The Ab Ripper X is definitely the more cardio type with lots of reps. You do like 350 reps in like 15 minutes. It's a real killer. You'll sweat a lot, but it's a good hard workout and it does work really well. But it is exhausting and very, very hard to do your first time around. I will pre-warn you. Now, the other is, of course, weighted exercises. I like to do some bento or rope pull downs, ab crunch, like rope crunch, I guess is the best way to describe it. I'm a lot better at like showing it than giving it a title, I guess. But a rope crunch is a great one. I like cable wood choppers for obliques. I think that works kind of both sides and gets a nice crunch at the end. So I would recommend trying to look that one up. There's tons and tons and tons and tons of ab exercises. But I would definitely say focus on a higher weight, lower rep for abs, or do something closer to like a P90X, where you're going to be working it really hard and get a good sweat on. Because that kind of in-between area, I don't think you're going to get the muscle definition that you want. You might get a little, but you could get more, in my opinion. And of course, doing it multiple times a week is what I do. 2 to 3 times is best, and I have some pretty good results along with the fasting. So that's pretty much about all the fitness and nutrition I can offer you guys, at least for today. Again, we're just scratching the surface, and I've talked mainly about what I'm doing currently in terms of muscle groups, like workouts and workout routine. We'll talk about next live stream. We will talk about we talked about fitness. His live stream thing is hard to not like stumble and forget your words and lose your train of thought for 30 straight minutes. Anyway, we talked about the nutrition, the fasting, the warrior diet, all of that good stuff, kind of some of the little like tricks and things you can get away with by doing such a diet. But of course, each person is different. And then we did, of course, all muscle groups, talked about what I do in the gym most of the time. And I didn't give, of course, my exact workout because it does change a lot. But anyway, we'll next live stream talk about workout routine. I will get into the one most important thing I can give you, which is proper bench form. And we will probably dive a little bit deeper into nutrition. We'll talk about another gold standard, which is macros. And I will start explaining about how all that works. And then probably we'll show you some examples so you guys get a good idea. All right, well, we're at about 40 minutes. That's pretty good for the first live stream. I know there was lots of stumbling and lots of forgetting my lines and even some blank moments where I just totally lost it. But, it's a bit trickier than I thought, and I will have to work on it. I will work on verbal pauses too, but I think doing more and more of these live streams will work out really well to get me better at like public speaking. So expect more of these in the future, because I kind of do like the kind of off the cuff, on the fly type of deal where I can just ramble on and on, cover a lot of territory in a small period of time, post it, and then you guys can watch it. And maybe someday, if I can figure out how to do podcasts, I might consider doing this in a podcast format for people if I can get that done. Just so you guys could listen to it, since it'll just mostly be me rambling without probably showing too many pictures. But we'll see what the future holds. Anyway, that's all I got for today. Of course, likes are appreciated. If you have any comments about anything I talked about today, or any questions about aquariums and or fitness in general, fitness nutrition in general, drop me a comment down below. And of course, share this with your friends, your neighbors, the guy down the street, your, I don't know, the guy at the grocery store, anyone that you're willing to share it with. It's always greatly appreciated to help spread the word around and hopefully inform some people on fitness and aquatics. It's a weird combo, but let's see how it works. Anyway, until next time, you all have a good life.